100 years ago, the world looked to the skies with optimism, believing airships would one day connect the globe. What followed was one of the most important journeys ever recorded, the first proven flight to the North Pole, captured on film. This is what happened. In 1926, an airship flew over the North Pole and became the most carefully documented Arctic flight the world had ever seen. And what makes that even more remarkable is how they managed to do it at all. For centuries, explorers had tried to reach the icy North Pole, shrouded in mystery and danger. Some never returned. Others claimed success, but left behind questions no one could fully answer. By the 1920s, the North Pole remained uncertain. So this time, the goal wasn't just to reach it, but to prove and document it. The aircraft was the Norge, a massive hydrogen-filled airship built for long-distance travel. Measuring a lengthy 106 meters, its width 19 meters, and its height a towering 24 meters. It had a hydrogen capacity of 19,500 cubic meters, contained in a rubberized fabric envelope, supported by a massive internal aluminum framework and longitudinal keel. At a time when aviation itself was still in its early years, this was cutting-edge technology. Lightweight structure, gas-filled envelope, triple 245 horsepower Maybach MB IVA engines mounted along its frame, on swiveling gondolas for improved maneuverability. The ship sailed at a pace of 50 to 71 miles per hour. Everything about it had to work perfectly in one of the harshest environments on Earth. It was designed and piloted by Umberto Nobile, who oversaw every technical detail of the flight. Leading the expedition was Ronald Amundsen, responsible for navigation and the overall mission. Also on board was Lincoln Ellsworth, who helped finance the expedition with $125,000 and served as an observer. The Norwegian Royal Aero Club also financed major parts of the expedition. Alongside them was a small international crew: the chief mechanic Sessioni, head of radio service Captain Birger Gottwald, Norwegian Navy captain and polar veteran Oscar Wisting, First Lieutenant Emil Horgen, Ronald's nephew Gustav Amundsen, Italian engine mechanic Cariati, Arduino, and Lippi, and the famous meteorologist Finn Malmgren, each one essential to keeping the airship in the air. Alongside the human crew, there was one tiny canine, a fox terrier named Titina, belonging to Umberto. Behind the scenes, the mission had powerful backing. Benito Mussolini supported the project, seeing it as a way to showcase Italian engineering to the world. But before the Arctic flight could even begin, there was another challenge: getting the airship there. The Norge didn't just appear in the Arctic. It had to be flown from Italy across Europe in stages, carefully navigating weather, terrain, and testing its mechanical limits. The Norwegian explorers reached Rome first, where the airship Norge was inspected by King George Emmanuel on March 6th. On March 29th, Benito Mussolini delivered the airship on behalf of the Italian government. He attended departure day in person, despite an assassination attempt just the day before. In magnificent weather, almost exactly 100 years ago, on April 10, 1926, the Norge left the city of Seven Hills, being saluted by the adorable tiny MR airship. After crossing the channel, it landed briefly at the English airfield Pulham and in Oslo before moving on towards its hangar in the Arctic. At the edge of the Arctic, in Svalbard, the enormous hangar had to be constructed to house the Norge before the final leg of its journey. In one of the most remote places on Earth, workers built a structure large enough to hold a full airship. a massive 110 by 34 meter structure built right on the ice. Materials and a mooring mast had to be shipped in. Crews had to work in freezing conditions, all so this one flight could even be attempted. It was an enormous operation, and this was 1926. No satellites, no GPS, limited forecasting, and yet they made it work. At the same time, American aviator Richard E. Byrd was preparing his own attempt to reach the North Pole by airplane. His flight would be faster, but the Norge expedition focused on something different: precision, documentation, and endurance. On May 11, 1926, at 9:55 a.m., the Norge lifted off from Svalbard. At first, conditions were good. Clear skies, relatively calm winds. The airship moved steadily northward. Below them stretched an endless, shifting world of ice, cracking, drifting, constantly moving. There were no landmarks, only instruments and careful calculations. Inside the airship, every crew member had a role. Engines had to be monitored constantly. Course corrections made carefully. Communication was maintained by a wireless telegraph, an amazing invention even in today's time, where they could receive messages from friends and family from far away, even in the solitude over the icy ocean below them. There was no room for error, because if something failed here, there was nowhere to land, and no one coming to help. For hours, the flight continued smoothly, a steady, almost surreal journey across the Arctic. But as they moved closer to their goal, conditions began to change. Clouds thickened, visibility dropped, winds became less predictable, and then, after nearly 16 hours in the air, at 1:56 a.m., they reached it, the North Pole. No landing, no footprints, just a silent crossing high above the ice. The crew quietly and proudly lowered their flags onto the ice above the pole. Norway, Italy, and the United States of America. This was a symbolic mark of their passage, the mark of achievement that they had worked and trained so hard for. But this time, everything was recorded. Positions logged, instruments checked and confirmed, observations carefully documented. For the crew, it was a quiet moment, but historically, it changed everything. And still, they weren't done. Because the mission wasn't just to reach the North Pole, it was to cross the entire Arctic. The Norge continued south toward Alaska, and now the flight became more difficult. Weather worsened. Fog surrounded the airship. Winds pushed them off course. Ice began forming along parts of the structure. Fatigue set in. They had been in the air for more than a full day. Sleep was limited. The constant hum of the engines never stopped. And yet, the airship held together. A fragile structure of metal and fabric, carrying them across one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. Hour by hour, they moved forward, until finally land appeared. On May 14th, after 72 hours in the air, they reached Alaska. They had covered 3,393 miles, despite battling gale force winds and enduring structural damage from ice forming on the rigging. The endless white gave way to darker terrain below, and the Norge descended safely near Teller. The flight was complete. But even then, the work wasn't over. In the remote Alaskan landscape, the crew began dismantling the airship. The envelope was deflated. Then the structure was taken apart piece by piece. Most everything packed for transport, save for some keepsakes to hold on to. Because this wasn't just a flight, it was an operation that had to be built, and then carefully taken apart again. The crew spent about 5 days in the town of Teller with the natives, hunting and fishing and resting before their voyage home. From Alaska, the crew began their journey home by ship. Traveling south, stopping along the way, they were met with growing attention. News of their success had spread around the world. The crew traveled first to Nome and then on to Seattle, where news of their success spread rapidly. From there, they crossed the United States and returned to Europe, where they were welcomed as heroes. When they arrived in Rome, they were received with a great celebration of the expedition's success, with special honors to Italian airship designer Umberto Nobile. Benito Mussolini was again there to publicly receive and honor Nobile, pinning a high-ranking medal on his chest. And finally, in Oslo, they were received with great celebration, especially for Norwegian captain Robert Amundsen. By the time they returned, they were no longer just explorers. They were pioneers of a new kind of travel. Crowds gathered, newspapers covered every detail, and the flight of the Norge was recognized as one of the greatest achievements of its time. In an era without modern navigation, without advanced forecasting, without the technology we take for granted today, they had crossed the Arctic by air. And for a brief moment in history, it proved something extraordinary, that even the most remote places on Earth could be reached, not by crossing the ice below, but by flying above it. In a quote stated by Robert Amundsen that day in Norway, he said, "Much has yet to be attempted to wrest the secrets from the eternal ice at the inaccessible pole. One thing is certain. The way to the North Pole belongs to great airships. The future belongs to the airship."